Hi, I'm Gosia Sayed, and this is HR Calling, where people strategy meets business intelligence. AI, labor reform, global talent trends, and conversations shaping the future of work. No jargon, no LinkedIn fluff, no corporate diplomacy, just sharp conversations on what's actually moving the world of work and who's moving it. Let me start with something personal. When I applied to HR programs years ago, more than one college told me I couldn't be in HR because of how my voice sounds. You can't be the face of people management, they said. Interesting, right? Because today I'm an MBA from SCMHRD Pune, an HR professional at Wipro, a net qualified assistant professor in HRM and labor law, founder and director of Inclusive Lens Global Foundation, and a budding writer whose love for words is unwavering. Turns out, the voice that wasn't HR enough is now talking about HR in her own way, unapologetically. And maybe that's why today's topic matters more than it looks, because systems decide who gets included, who gets protected, and who gets left out. So let's get into it. And there's no better day to do this. Happy Labor Day. This isn't just another calendar event. This day exists because workers across industries, across countries, fought for rights we now take for granted. Minimum wages, fixed working hours, social security. None of this was given. It was negotiated hard. And today, India is rewriting the very system that governs those rights. Here's the headline. India just replaced 29 labor laws with 4 labor codes. Not updated, not tweaked, replaced. And most professionals haven't fully processed what that actually means. That's why I'm launching HR Calling's first series, The Labor Code Decoded. Over the next few episodes, we're going deep, one code at a time. Episode 1. Today, Labor Codes 1A1. Episode 2, The Code on Wages. Episode 3, The Code on Social Security. Episode 4, The Industrial Relations Code. Episode 5, The Code on Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions. By the end of this series, you'll know more about Indian labor law than most HR generalists in the country. That's the promise. So, let's begin. What just happened? On November 21st, 2025, the Government of India brought 4 labor codes into force and in one stroke repealed 29 existing central labor laws. Let me say that again. 29 laws gone, 4 codes in their place. This is the biggest shift in Indian employment law since independence, and right now we're in the middle of the transition. Now, before you think this is just legal stuff, let me make it real. Take one word, wages, simple word, everyday word, except legally, it wasn't simple at all. Different laws defined wages differently. Under the Payment of Wages Act, 1936, one definition. Under the Minimum Wages Act, 1948, slightly different. Under the Payment of Bonus Act 1965, different again. Under the Equal Remuneration Act 1976, different still. Same employee, same salary, same paycheck, 4 different legal definitions, which meant PF calculated on one base, gratuity on another, bonus on something else. That's not complexity, that's a broken system. And the same problem existed for words like employee, worker, establishment, and industry. HR teams across India have been pulling their hair out for decades. This is what the new framework tries to fix. An act used to handle one issue at a time. Standalone law, with its own rules, its own definitions, its own enforcement. A code brings multiple laws together into one consistent system, one definition, one structure, one logic. And for the first time, terms like wages and employee are aligned across the board. That's not cosmetic, that's structural. Here's the analogy I love. Imagine 4 different textbooks for the same exam, each with its own terminology, its own formulas, its own examples. Confusing, right? A code is what happens when those 4 textbooks are rewritten as one master textbook with one consistent language throughout. That's what India just did to its labor laws. Not just simplification, structural reform. So what are these 4 codes? 1. The Code on Wages 2019. This decides how your salary is structured and introduces the 50% rule that's about to reshape CTC calculations across the country. 2. The Code on Social Security 2020. This pulls together PF, gratuity, ESI, maternity benefits, and for the first time ever, formally includes gig and platform workers, which means people working through Swiggy, Urban Company, and similar platforms are now part of the conversation. On paper, actual benefits? Still evolving. 3. The Industrial Relations Code 2020. This deals with trade unions, industrial disputes, layoffs, and introduces more flexibility with fixed-term employment, which sounds efficient for companies, but also raises real questions about long-term job security. 4. The Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code 2020. This consolidates laws around workplace safety, working hours, and conditions of employment across industries. 4 codes. 29 laws repealed. 1 unified framework. So yes, cleaner structure. But don't confuse cleaner with simpler in real life, because this hits directly where it matters. Your CTC structure will change. Your gratuity calculations will change. Your employment contracts will need updates. And here's one shift most people are still sleeping on. Fixed-term employees are now eligible for gratuity after just 1 year, not 5. 1. That alone changes how companies think about hiring. Now let's address the part most people avoid. Is this reform good? The honest answer? It depends on where you stand. For businesses, this brings flexibility and clarity. For workers, some experts argue it could dilute certain protections over time. Both arguments exist, and both have merit. And here's the bigger issue. We still don't have full clarity on implementation. Because while the codes are in force, the detailed rules are still evolving, especially at the state level. So right now, in May 2026, some companies are adapting, some are waiting, most are confused, and a lot of HR teams are operating in a gray zone, trying to act without complete information. That's exactly why this series exists. This isn't about memorizing labor law, it's about understanding what changes before it hits your payroll, your hiring strategy, and your business decisions. What's coming next? Next episode, we tackle the Code on Wages, the 50% rule, why your basic salary suddenly matters more than ever, and what every HR leader needs to fix before the next payroll cycle. If you're in HR and this episode made you realize you're not fully updated, good. That awareness is exactly where you need to start. Follow the series, because what's coming next isn't theoretical, it's operational. If you found this useful, share it with one HR person, one founder, or one curious friend who works for a living. The labor codes affect all of them. Until next week, this has been HR Calling. Stay sharp. This was your host, Gauzia Sayed, signing off. See you next week.